Yae Miko is going to be reborn in Genshin. She has everything to become the main character of the new Stellar Conduct mechanic. But there's one big however here in this story that could ruin your plans. What if I told you that ENEBA is now giving 5% off on Wriothesley games? Yes, so if you want to get Nicole or is already start saving for Lohan, use the links down below to get the amazing prices of ENEBA. Today I'm gonna show you how the new buffs transforms Yae Miko's kits and what's the bizarre secret behind the new reaction. I'll be honest, there's more than one, alright? But let's go. To understand the new Yae Miko, we need to understand Stellar Superconduct. To sum it up in a very practical way, for it to happen you need a cryo and an electro elements interacting with each other, and a character that can activate it like Sandrone. And when Sandrone activates, the reaction becomes Stellar Conduct and creates a domain on the battlefield. And inside this domain, enemies loses 40% of physical resistance. That's a lot. And it gets better. Every cryo and electro hit the enemy takes inside this domain, it stacks energy for the domain, and in the end you get insane buffs, the reaction gets a gigantic damage bonus, and your cryo and electro elemental damage goes through the roof. Sounds like a dream, right? But here comes the however I mentioned in the beginning, alright? The only character capable of truly making this reaction happen today is Sandrone. In other words, without her there's no party going on. Yes, no celebration, no nothing. You without Stellar Conduct. So you will need to get her, to get the character in your team. But looking on the bright side here, it's thanks to her that characters like Yae Miko are going to be reborn and entering the meta, kicking everything. Yes, Yae Miko is going to be good again, finally. And if we analyze the Yae Miko more calmly, her normal attacks practically do not change, and the big difference here appears in her elemental skill, which is exactly the central point of her kit. Basically, the passive seems to be increasing the duration of the summoned totems from 10 to 24 seconds. And can you understand how big that is? They will be able to stay on the field for the entire time. Yes, and this is excellent because now when you're using Yae's elemental skill, she also deals extra damage based on attack if there's already 3 active towers on the field. In other words, instead of simply replacing totems that were about to disappear, you place 3 more and still deal additional damage with each use. So in practice, this makes using her elemental skill repeatedly much more interesting. And it's worth making an observation here. This does not depend on the stellar state to work. It's simply a buff to her, to the character. And even though we still do not officially have the damage scaling for all of this, we can be hopeful, alright? Very hopeful, even if they are not broken numbers. Besides the elemental skill, the other surprise is her burst, which from what we know will no longer destroy the towers, which will already make the rotation and damage increase much easier. Regarding the passives, in the stellar state, her skills deal extra damage whenever Stellar Superconduct damage appears, meaning more damage and electro application. And her constellations are awesome because they correct very important functions of her. For example, since she's an off-field character, at C0 she offers almost like no buffs to say, alright? You could say none actually. So C1 comes in here correcting that, and besides of being extremely good, you can guarantee the C1 for free free in the Constellation selector, so don't miss this opportunity. But what does her C1 actually do? In short, when activating Stellar Superconduct, she buffs electro damage and superconduct damage, and everyone on the team by 40%. 40%! Do you understand how big this is? Especially you, future main Sandrone. That's a lot. And it doesn't stop here. Her C2 increases the elemental mastery on the field character by 200, besides increasing the level and the range of the summoned totems. And calm down, it doesn't stop there, because her artifact set and weapon will also be made to buff Stellar Conduct. You see how many numbers are getting into each other? Oh, listen. With the artifacts here of Yae Miko giving 40% extra damage to Stellar Conduct and plus 16% of critic rate. And as for weapon, it buffs elemental skill damage and consequently the superconduct buff as well. Overall, this setup buff seems astronomical, we have to agree here, especially if you want to build an elite team for Sandrone. Like, I'm not going to lie here, alright? It's not always rainbows and sunshine, because even though I think she will become good with the buffs, I don't think Wriothesley will take long to release someone who will easily surpass her for stellar reactions, alright? But that doesn't mean she can continue being a competitive character and even for a second team in the Abyss, for example. So you can invest the character, but don't invest way too much, knowing that she will be replaced in the future, alright? And for team building, I would recommend Sandrone, Yae Miko, better if she is C1 here, alright? If you don't have her C1, the weapon and the right artifacts already do the job here, with Sucrose and Iansan. You can also choose Sandrone, Yae Miko with Qiqi, who will get some insane buffs for Stellar Conduct. And what makes me sad about all this is that you can't fit Wriothesley or Cyno in here, because for now Sandrone is the only capable of creating the domain, which is kind of sad because I really like Wriothesley and I have Cyno C2 and now with the Constellation selector C3 in future. But if you have Qiqi at C6, like me, maybe she would be a much better option. But even at C0, Qiqi promises to be a great option for Stellar Conduct. And I know you have her, I know you lost a 50-50 for her, don't lie. And also, I am the one that will not lie here. I admit that I never imagined myself saying Qiqi promises to be a great option. That's so crazy. I never pictured myself saying this. But, well, I'm super excited to see the old characters being reused by Wriothesley in a strategic way. So don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Also leave in the comments down below which characters you want me to analyze next. Wriothesley, Cyno, Sandrone, Qiqi. Comment down below that I'm very interested to know your opinion.